Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with veteran British jazz guitarist Mitch Dalton. He is one of the UK's most renowned studio guitarists, and now he gets into his 2026 album Out of the Shadows and his life in the world of music. He explores his love of jazz on a project that sees the sideman step up into the solo spotlight. Between his session work and experience in jazz bands, his credits read like a veritable who's who. He can count Herbie Hancock, Ella Fitzgerald, Wayne Shorter, Peggy Lee, and Quincy Jones among his collaborators. Just outside of London, we get into a fascinating ride in the music world. Enjoy this interview. Well, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out for the program today.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all.
I'm looking forward to getting into where are you located on the planet?
I'm located on the solar system, on planet Earth, and I am in the United Kingdom, very near London, in a place called Radlett in Hertfordshire. But it's about 10 minutes, excuse me while I sneeze, it's about 10 minutes from the London area, Greater London.
Excellent. Well, I'm in the middle of America. I'm in the belly button of America in Kansas City, Missouri, so it's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into Out of the Shadows in your world of music, so thank you for taking a minute out.
My absolute pleasure. All I know about Kansas City, apart from it's where I'm going, or Kansas City is where here I come.
Yes.
They got a crazy way of whatever they're doing. I can't remember.
Yeah,
they got some crazy women out there, and also the Wizard of Oz. And that's the end of my knowledge of Kansas City.
That's okay. You can stop with that. Those are pretty good indicators. So let's get into it here. I'm looking at the calendar. It's March 12th. 6 years ago, this pandemic changed our lives. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you approach music and life today?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and no one has asked me that. That's a very difficult question to answer. It hasn't actually changed my career, on my career trajectory and what I did. Obviously, everything went very quiet for a while. In which I took the opportunity to learn to cook for the first time in my life. I tried to use the time productively, and I also got a home studio together. So I suppose that was useful, looking on the positive sides of things. And I also concentrated a lot on writing material particularly for what turned out to be Out of the Shadows. So it was quite positive for me. It wasn't very positive for people who desperately needed to keep earning a living. And fortunately, I was able to ride that out. But it was a traumatic experience for us all, I'm sure. I don't know what happened with you down in Kansas City, what your experience was.
I just ramped up my level of interviewing musicians. I interviewed more, and it was actually a good thing to be able to do that. Yeah, but other than that, overall, it was, the uncertainty, I think, was the worst part of it.
Yes.
But we made a way, we made it work, and we got...
Well, as long as you didn't get COVID and you weren't inconvenienced by it, that's an immediate blessing.
Yeah, it was good. We actually got it. I got it in November of 2020. I got it pretty quick after everything. Well, during that winter time, but
oh right, okay,
so it was a lingering, kind of flu-like thing. But
yes.
But we made it through, and we're here on the other side of it. You got new music, Out of the Shadows. What was the vision for this album? Kind of talk to me about this project.
Well, it's really a continuation of what I do and what I like, and what my influences have always been. I've always been incredibly influenced by American music of different kinds, lots of influences, but in particular jazz fusion when it came along, and in particular the more melodic end of it. I've always been interested in improvisation, obviously being a jazz musician, but I've always been attracted to trying to make what I'm presenting as melodic as possible. And I suppose my original heroes were people like Dave Grusin and GRP Records, and before that, the CTI albums, if you remember those. I don't know.
Yes.
Creed Taylor's original concept when I was a teenager. You know, that I was very heavily influenced by those albums. But of course, I'm influenced by jazz, mainstream jazz, blues, Latin, all the kind of things that really emanate from your continent, quite honestly. And there's just my particular personality and being drawn to that music quite effortlessly, rather than Black Sabbath, heavy metal, you know, British rock, the British invasion. It never really kind of inspired me to go down that particular path. I was always very much more interested in, really, it starts with some kind of groove. And to me, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing, as our dear friend Duke Ellington said all those years ago.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't have a groove, it doesn't have some kind of vibe, it doesn't have a pocket, as I believe you guys call it, you know, I tend to lose interest. Does that help?
Absolutely.
Give you an insight?
It certainly does. So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Pleasure. I would like to think that it's committed, in the sense that you know, I certainly am not trying to fool anybody. It's music from a place in my heart. It's not cynical in any way, or with an outright goal to make it absolutely commercial. But nevertheless, I naturally gravitate towards things that are melodic and that catch a listener's attention, in the hope that whatever the style and the deviations from the center of that style are, it's always unified by the fact that it is sincere. And I hope that it's easy to catch the listener's attention. And once you've got their attention, one hopes that they think, well, yeah, this guy's trying to play something as well here, and he's trying to set his stall out, but in a musical context. It's very hard to describe this kind of stuff, isn't it? When you're describing music, it's like describing color to a blind man. But I hope that gives you some kind of indication.
Yeah, it certainly does. So talk to me about this journey into jazz and music. How did you evolve to this place in your life? Why was it music?
Why was it music? It was music because my father was a doctor. And I went into medicine, and I very quickly realized it wasn't for me. And it's what I always wanted to do. It was one of those things. It was like a guilty secret from the age of 10, really. That's, looking back, it's what I was always destined to do. And that's the path I was really forced to follow. It didn't happen to me, and I didn't force it to happen. It was just an inevitability, really. It was just what I liked doing, what I wanted to do. And fortunately, I came from a family that, instead of being very negative about it, gave me every encouragement. You know, my father, I remember him saying, you know, I'm not going to stand in your way. All I know about music is that I've been a doctor, and you can be a very mediocre doctor and earn a good living. And all I know about music is you've got to be a brilliant musician and sort of earn a living. So, you know, with that in mind, he wasn't far wrong. He was very rarely wrong about most things. But it's true. It's a tough old game, but I've been extraordinarily lucky, and I managed to, by accident, sort of find my way into doing a small number of demo recording sessions, and they turned into real sessions, and then people sort of found out about me, and I would get the phone call, and before, you know, 2 or 3 years had elapsed, I was sort of a very busy studio musician. And that's where the heartache, in a way, starts, because you want to earn a living, and that's the way to earn a living, or was in this country, but you're not going to necessarily end by playing music that you want to play. And so I really had 2 careers going on simultaneously as best I could. And in between the studio work, you know, I was fortunate enough to work with, at the beginning, people like Peggy Lee. And when Ella Fitzgerald came to town, and I did a week with her, and I worked with Nelson Riddle, and then later on Henry Mancini. But that was almost separate to the sort of bread and butter stuff of television and movies and records. So yeah, it's a bit of a juggling act, really, but it seems to have worked out. And there's a time and a place where you've really got to concentrate on what you want to do, in preference and over and above, the earning a living part of it. Otherwise, you get to the end, and I don't want to be left with the thought that, well, what did I do for me? What did I do? Which is an expression of what I'm about. I didn't want that to happen. So, that's become more important, and I've prioritized it, really.
So what was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away?
Well, I don't know about the first live show, but the first thing that blew me away as a kid, I had a friend who was also a guitar player. In fact, I taught him. What on earth I could convey at the age of 11, I don't know. But whatever it is that I knew, I taught him. And he used to go to the record library. There was a record library near where he lived, and he rang me up and he said, "You've got to come over and listen to this." And I said, "Okay." So I went round, and he put this album on, and it was okay. It was an okay track. It was a sort of version of Going Out of My Head, a pop tune at the time. And then the second track came on, called Once I Loved, and it just blew me into the weeds. And it was Wes Montgomery, an album called Going Out of My Head, with the arrangements by the Oliver Nelson and the Oliver Nelson Big Band. And that really turned me around. And I still think it's he is possibly the greatest jazz guitar player that has ever been put on this earth. I haven't really changed my opinion very much in all these years, but that was certainly a turning point.
So what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day and pushes you to evolve with the music?
Fear. Basically, get in there, practice, write. I just love music. I mean, I would do this even if I wasn't being paid to do it, if I could, if it wasn't a necessity to earn a living. But I've been very fortunate that what I do professionally, or have done in terms of the studio world and other things, you're holding a guitar, so you're holding an instrument, so you're keeping your technique or your chops, as you might say, you're keeping them intact, and that's always a springboard. But I'm always interested in what's happening, what's going on. Music, it's not something I don't think anybody can do unless you feel that way about music. You can't half like music. I mean, you can do a regular job and half like it and tolerate it. But I think if you're going to do music as a vocation, then you've just got to live it 100% of the time. And with that comes, as I'm sure you know, other difficulties, because as you begin to grow up, you have to try and integrate that into a life, like your relationships and your and paying the bills and just general mundane stuff of life. But because it can take over completely and give you a lot of problems if you're not aware of it, because not everybody feels about what you do the same way that they feel about what they do. If that makes any sense at all.
Makes total sense. So, Mitch, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone that you play with, everyone in a business sense, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
What I'd like people to think about me. And what I know, well, I do know that as a personality, I am funny. And that does help in all kinds of ways, because I'm just naturally, I have an absurdist sense of humor, and looking at the world, one finds that absurdist is the only way one can describe it or make any sense of it, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a crazy world. You just got to make the best of it. But I have that kind of quality, and I know that many people have told me that, I make them laugh, and I've got an ability to ease the stress and the tension of high pressure musical situations, which is very helpful because it helps people to relax not only myself, but the people that I'm around, because, it is a high pressure environment for especially the people that are paying the bills, and a job has got to be done and the product has got to be achieved. And there's probably people looking down and supervising all this, and looking at their balance sheet and wondering if this money is going to be well spent, plus the musical tensions that, do arise for all the right reasons. But, that's helpful in people's perception of me. I do give 100% to everything that I do, I would say. That would be fair. I don't coast along. I do contribute creatively, which is helpful. It's helpful for people that I work with, and it's also helpful for me because it makes life a lot more interesting. I don't just sit there and read the dots on a piece of paper and take the money and run.
Yeah.
What else people would say about me? God only knows.
Well, you said everything you needed to say about you, so that's perfect. So, Out of the Shadows, if anybody wants to get a copy of this album or catch you live or any of the other good business and work going on in your world, where can people go?
Well, in London, I play quite regularly at the Pizza Express Soho Jazz Club. And on top of that, the album itself is available. It's available online. It's also available to stream in all the usual channels. I've got a few plans this year. One of them is hopefully going to involve my friends, the SWR Big Band, fabulous German big band. I'm hoping to get over to do a concert at the Royal Academy of Music and record it as well in their fantastic theatre that they have there. There's a number of irons in the fire, and we are at the moment thinking about coming over to do the next album to the States, which is something I've always wanted to do, and maybe recording the next album there. Maybe not quite sure where, but that's certainly an idea that's being kicked around at the moment. And the other project that I've got going on with all of this is that a few years ago, the first album I made was called Meet Mitch Dalton and the Studio Kings. And it's okay, and it's mixed, and it came out. And at the same time, to launch it, I launched it in a recording studio in front of an invited audience and recorded that as a live album, sort of the working title, Live in Session. And that is all mastered, not mastered, it's all mixed and ready to go. And we have the idea of revisiting it and going back out to Germany and overdubbing new parts for the SWR big band to play on and to augment it in general, to bring it up to the overall soundscape, if you will, the way this new album sounds. And I'm quite excited about that. In fact, I'm just waiting to hear back as to when I'm going to go out to Germany and do this. So there's a few things going on, and there's quite a lot of radio interest and radio plays. So, we'll see what happens.
I love it. This has been great, Mitch. Thank you, man. Thank you for taking a minute out. I'm looking forward to profiling it on Neon Jazz. Best of luck with everything, man.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. A pleasure speaking to you, and thank you for making it so easy. I will say au revoir, but not goodbye.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in London, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Mitch for swinging on by the program. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.